Let's talk now about principles and practical applications of humanity centered innovation. Really ground this into standing on the shoulders of giants here. There are sets of principles that we're leveraging and other, let's say, interdisciplinary approaches to building organizations that, as you really see how this comes together, your paradigm will continue to shift and evolve, I think, in a very beneficial way. Let's see what happens. So Don Norman is one of the kind of pioneers in what was referred to as human-centered design. Don Norman has recently, he's actually 87 years old now. He was one of the principals at Apple, and through his work was a pioneer in human-centered design, yet recently he's come out and he's talking about the need for humanity-centered design and the distinction between human-centered design and humanity-centered design. There are a set of principles that human-centered design started with and humanity-centered design evolved. Now, with that in mind, you can see how we can take the principles from humanity-centered design and other disciplines and bring it all together with integrative organizing. So Don Norman says that we must think about all living things and about the environment. We must realize we're part of a complex system. So what we do here can impact people all across the world and have a long effect. So if you're like me and you like building, you enjoy building technology, well, the key distinction here is that when we're practicing humanity-centered design, we're not just thinking about people, we're also thinking about the earth, the relationship between human beings and the earth that we inhabit, all of the living organisms that we inhabit the earth with our interbeing, our nature, the nature of human nature itself, the conditions that we're creating for humanity with the technology that we're creating. So we must think about all living things and about the environment. With the humanity-centered design principles, it starts with a focus on the entire ecosystem of people, all living things, and the physical environment. That we must create technology. Everything that we design must focus on the entire ecosystem of people, all living things, in the physical environment. We don't exist in a vacuum. We exist in an earth, in a cosmos. So we have to focus on the entire ecosystem, including people, plant life, animal life, the tiny life on earth that lives in the soil, the life in the water, the life on land, the life in the air. That we then must solve the root of issues, not just the problem as presented, which is often the symptom, not the cause. Now you can understand the gift of alignment, root cause resolution, bringing together these humanity-centered design principles. The third principle of humanity-centered design is take a long-term systems point of view. We must realize that the impact of our action on society and the ecosystem can take years to appear or manifest even decades later. I've been actively working on integrative organizing for about 2 years now. And in my life, I'm like, man, no one knows about it still. I mean, there's like people that I know, but I walk down the street and no one knows about integrative organizing. But I see a world, I see that future possibility, that beyond my lifetime, whether it's integrative organizing or the evolution that comes as a result of integrative organizing coming into your mind and your heart, spreading and evolving and mutating as nature naturally evolves. That I see in the long term that there are many, many countless benefits for the systems that we're creating through integrative organizing itself, and the systems that are being created through Giving Back Studio, the systems that you can go create as a result, the inspiration that you can gain from this to go and create long-term systems that change the nature of being on a long-term scale, multi-generational thinking. Fourth principle, continually test and refine the proposed designs to ensure that they truly meet the concerns of the people and the ecosystem for whom they're intended. I'll talk about a case study at the end and a really simple system for continually testing and refining a design. How we can use prototyping, and it's called a design sprint. If you're not familiar, it's a system that was designed at Google, and we can use very specific processes. Yes, this is complex, and we can really break it down into simple processes to continually test and refine designs to ensure that they truly meet the concerns of the people and the ecosystem for who they're intended. The fifth principle of humanity-centered design, design with the community, not for them. Talk about a case study again of how we're practicing this participatory design. It makes the process a lot better. It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more effective when we're designing with the community, not for them. It might stroke the ego for a moment to think that you've got the solution inside of you without needing to go and talk to other people and actually get feedback and see what's real and what works and what doesn't work, and see the kind of messiness of life, the vulnerability of not knowing. Designing with the community, it requires us to really be raw and vulnerable. To say that we don't know, that we don't have all the answers. To be listening, to practice actively listening. But it makes the process a lot more effective. We can ask and listen to what other people have to say about the design. That we can simply allow the design to practice. Brian Sykes, one of the partners at Giving Back Studio, shout out to Brian Sykes, has a mantra: there's no there to get to. If I'm thinking about like designing something for them, it's like I need to get there. When I'm including the community in the design, it's like it's all happening here and now. It makes the process a lot more effective. We're going to get a better result naturally, organically. We're going to receive a better result, right? We're going to allow a better process to happen through us when we design with the community, not for them. And when we bring humanity into the center of the process, this is when the most complex solutions can actually be created, when we design with the community, the wisdom of the crowd. So let's see how we can integrate these humanity-centered design principles with a set of expanded ethics and principles. These go back a bit deeper. The humanity-centered principles are relatively new-ish. They're evolving from human-centered design. Humanity-centered design has come about within the last few years. Human-centered design goes a bit beyond that. Around the same time that human-centered design was coming into the mix, from my understanding, in the 90s, I don't claim to be an anthropological expert in these fields, but from my studies, I gather that human-centered design and permaculture both started to form around the end of the 80s, the beginning of the 90s. Permaculture is a system not necessarily for designing software, although it could be, and we are leveraging permaculture principles now to design software, and that's very interesting. But permaculture is really a way of being a steward to the land. And beyond that, it is a system of building a permanent culture. And with that perspective, we can see how it can be very effective in the innovation process to build an innovative culture, a permanently innovative culture for purpose. So this is really how we can bring together the humanity-centered principles and the permaculture way, which includes a set of ethics, principles, design processes. Let's start with the ethics. 3 ethics in permaculture: earth care, people care, and fair share. That there is a science of morality. These principles are good because they create value. It is good to create value. It is good to take care of the earth. It is good to care for people. It is good to give, allow, and design for a fair share. It is morally good. We have a responsibility to live in harmony with each other and nature, to create fair share in our businesses, in our lives. So you can see how these ethics can really be applied in any organization, whether you're building a physical farm or a metaphorical farm as your business. Build with ethics. This is my great request. Please, may we build with ethics together? Can we agree on that it's good to build with ethics, and that these 3 ethics are very reasonable, valid ethics? If you've got other ethics to propose, by all means share them. Otherwise, if you have no objections, then let's bring these ethics into the forefront of the way that we do business, the way that we create technology, the way that we build community, the way that we design for purpose with ethics. Very important. Permaculture includes a set of principles that, if we look at a natural system, these principles come into handy to see what are the unique benefits, the unique value that any ecosystem may have. You can use these principles beyond the land. You can use them in studying people and cultures. They're also very effective principles if you want to build a farm. And this is how most people are applying permaculture, is through land stewardship and ecological design. Now, the invitation is to expand that beyond and start to bring it into the everyday business world, and let the everyday business world also have influence in ecological regeneration by design. These principles begin with observing and interacting. We must humble ourselves to observe and interact with the earth, to touch the trees, to touch the soil, to feel what the earth feels like. It's very important to be connected with the earth, to be inspired with the earth. This relates with principle 2 of catch and store energy. Inspiration is a form of energy. So go and connect with nature, observe, interact, see what's going on. Oh, okay. There are bugs. This is good. Bugs are good. Bugs are part of the evolutionary process. Catch and store energy. Obtain a yield. Profit is good. It is good to build a profit with purpose. Apply self-regulation and accept feedback. In the entrepreneurial process, self-regulation is a key determinant of success. That we must effectively self-regulate the way that we show up, the way that we build our infrastructure, our teams, our communities, our land, and accept feedback. Remember that 5th principle in humanity-centered design? You see the symbiosis here. Accept feedback. Design with community, not for. Produce no waste. This is part of the regenerative ecosystem. The regenerative economy is an economy where there is no waste. In the earth, there is no waste. We can look at the plastic that's going into the oceans. It's tragic. What's actually happening is there is no waste. Whether humanity will survive in the long run or not is a question. Whether there is waste or not, no, there is no waste. If humanity creates a certain kind of waste, what will be wasted will be humanity. We will disappear. But there is no waste in nature because nature will continue to evolve. That plastic that was formed, it may kill some life forms. New life forms will come. The mycelial network will come, eat the plastic, create new life. So if we want to study the nature of nature, then we must produce no waste. If we are producing waste, we are creating moral problems. Not only that, we're creating economic problems because the economy is an ecological system. So I think often we forget that. We have this fiat dollar system. The dollar is based on absolutely nothing but man's word. And what is the value of man's word without our action? Without our action to actually build a world that is good, that has ethics, that has morality, that is peaceful. Use renewable resources and services. That we have these resources available that come cyclically in seasons. Whether that season is a daily season, night and day. We see the way that some of the choices that humanity is making to not use renewable resources and services and producing waste is problematic. It is out of alignment with these principles. And so when we choose to operate in alignment with principles, we will build better businesses, get better outcomes, live healthier, happier lives, and create a greater abundance for all of humanity. That's what these principles offer. You can disagree with the nature of some of these at your own expense, or we can look at what's actually happening in these natural ecosystems. Nature is a renewable system, so we need to operate in alignment with natural principles. Designed from pattern to detail. You see how we started this course and I started to introduce a bit of a pattern. We didn't get too much in the details, but we started to see a pattern here. We're talking about how we can create for purpose. Purpose. There's a pattern here. Now we're getting into the detail. Principles. Specific principles. Humanity-centered principles. Permaculture principles. From pattern to detail. Integrate rather than segregate. So we could say, oh, permaculture, that's just for farmers, right? We don't need to integrate that into the way that we do business. We're building a software product. No, we can integrate. Rather than segregate these natural principles for farmers, we can integrate them into our entire way of being, our way of living, our way of operating, our way of creating. Use small and slow solutions. Start with what is right in front of you. What's right in front of you is a set of principles. So observe, interact with this. Use small and slow solutions. Start with one gift of alignment, right? Small and slow solutions. With that one gift of alignment, slowly, there's an infinite field of potential, of gains. We use small and slow solutions. One gift of alignment at a time. Use and value diversity. That there's power in diversity to create solutions, to see beyond the confines that when we segregate and we see through a lens of separation or individuality without the collective, we limit the possibility or the potential of what is being created. When we use and value diversity, there's really no limit to the power and the value that we can create. Use edges and value the marginal. This can apply very easily to land. You can see on this land ways of using the edges and value the marginal. I invite you to consider how you can really apply this into a very a pattern. See how you can see a pattern. What are the edges in my life? Not just in land, but where are the edges? Where are the edges in my business? What's the marginal? What are the things that I put on the margins? Oh, purpose. Often purpose is put on the margins. It's like profit first. Once I make a profit, then I can focus on purpose. Some people say. I'm not saying that's what you say, but some people say that. Purpose may be marginal for some. In business as usual, purpose is marginal. So let's use that marginal. Creatively use and respond to change. The climate is changing. This is a very important point. The climate is changing. Now the question is, how is it changing? And why is it changing? It's changing because of human activity. So human activity can change the climate. I see. So is climate change a good thing or a bad thing? Well, maybe it's both. Because the fact that we're seeing human activity is changing the climate, it implies that human activity can change the climate, which means that we can create a better climate. So if we're changing the climate unconsciously, well, why don't we start changing the climate consciously? Climate change is not a good thing or a bad thing, it's a thing. So creatively use and respond to change. A lot of people are concerned about climate change. Well, why don't we use that for inspiration to realize the power that we have to change the climate? And change the climate for good with a set of natural principles like permaculture. This would be a really morally good way to respond to the changing environment, would be to go from an environment that's changing unconsciously because humanity has a dangerous shadow lurking. Unconsciously, we are collectively changing the climate. Now we can choose to consciously respond and create a better climate where all of humanity's needs are met. We use and value diversity, earth care, people care, fair share. We can respond to the alarm that climate change is ringing in a lot of people's eyes, ears, minds, and hearts. And we can respond effectively by saying, let's change the climate for purpose. Let's create a better diversity in our climate. Let's make sure that all people have access to clean water, nutritious food, safe shelter, that we care for all life on earth, that we choose to effectively be stewards, that we can change the paradigm, we can change the way that we're thinking, we can change the way that we're acting, we can even change our identity. Because if you want to change habits, you'd better off change your identity. Because changing habits is really hard without changing your identity. And if you change your identity, your habits will invariably, they will change when we change our identity. So when we can identify beyond the separate ego into a spiritually good way of living, a way of seeing our interbeing, respecting our interbeing, and operating from a place of truth, capital T, which is beyond words, and it's beyond me telling you what's true and you realizing in your heart what's true. I can only suggest that you look at the moon. I can't put your eyes on the moon to suggest that we are all connected. And it is good to care for the earth. It is good to care for the people, and it is good to create a fair share. That we can create for purpose. And these principles and ethics really help to be a guide for us. I know I might sound like a broken record here. It is what it is. These principles and these ethics are very important. They're very important to consider. They're very important to keep coming back to keep observing, to keep getting feedback as we integrate rather than segregate. Right? Rather than saying, this is too complex, this is not for me, you could say, this is very complex, I need to integrate this. catch and store the energy. The complexity involved in this is. So either we can segregate that and say, oh, this is too complex. Someone else is going to take care of this. We can say, oh, this is very complex. My life is very complex. My nature is very complex. I'm living and breathing. How is it even happening? It's happening somehow without consciously thinking about it. My body is digesting food, is healing a wound, is all these things are happening. It's very complex. And now I'm learning these new principles. Will creatively use and respond to change. So your perspective may be changing as you interact and observe this course. I invite you to creatively use and respond to change. Allow the feelings that are coming up in you to be your guide. And specifically, the invitation is to allow joy to be your guide as you integrate these ethics and principles. A permanent culture is going to be permanent when there is a natural joy and bliss. That's what makes a culture permanent. Bliss is our natural state of being. This is the permanence of all life. There's a bliss beyond the conscious mind, beyond the subconscious mind. There is just a bliss of being. We spoke about the dream in the mind of God. That is a bliss that is existing in all moments at all times. Behind every emotion that humans experience is what I'm calling bliss. It's the total enrapturement of living itself. So the invitation is to allow the energy that's coming up in you to be a guide, to help you obtain a yield, to apply self-regulation and accept feedback. Allow this to be a form of feedback. I'm sharing feedback with you here. These principles are very important. If you're not applying them in your business, you better start applying them in your business, because you're going to be better off applying them in your business. I guarantee it. Try it out. If it doesn't work, come tell me. I need that feedback if it's not working. And if it does work, you need to go and you need to spread the word. You need to make more people aware of these principles, aware of these ethics. You need to make everyone in your organization aware of these principles and these ethics. You need to produce no waste. You're learning this, other people learning this, us all learning together. There is no waste. Use renewable resources and services. Your inspiration is a renewable resource. The joy in your heart is a renewable resource. Your breath is a renewable resource. It keeps coming back. Design from pattern to detail. Just look at the bigger picture here. Notice the circles. Notice the colors. Just allow your whole brain to be active here. Notice the patterns. And then start looking closer in. Can be applied individually and together. Integrate rather than segregate. Integrate all of these principles together. They all work together. They all work individually because they are whole, and they all work together because they're all interconnected. Use small and slow solutions. Allow yourself to just be with this right now. The small and slow solution here is just to listen. Just listen to what's happening. Listen to what's happening in this training. Listen to what's happening in your body. Use small and slow solutions. Just breathe through this. Be with this. Use and value diversity. There's a diversity of perspective that's coming through this training. Use and value that. Use edges and value the marginal. These concepts that I'm sharing here, they're not mainstream concepts yet. They're marginal. They've been marginalized for a while now. Use and value the marginal. If a lot of people are not talking about it, but you're looking at this and you're saying, this is very important, why has this been marginalized? Use and value the marginal. And creatively use and respond to change. Your worldview is probably shifting. Creatively use and respond to that changing worldview. How you can integrate humanity-centered design and permaculture. So all innovation, be it digital or agricultural, everything in between, can be advanced and evolved with the right set of ethics and principles. I believe that with all of my being, and beyond my belief, don't take anything I believe at face value. Do your own experiment. See how you can advance and evolve your business, your life, your organizations, the technology that you can create, your whole way of being, with the right set of ethics and principles. This is not just a set of tools for farmers. This is not just a set of tools for software developers. These are the right set of ethics and principles for humanity, for building a permanent culture, for creating for-purpose social enterprises. Think about the name integrative organizing. We're integrating various disciplines on purpose, use and value diversity, to create a better wheel of life for all of humanity. I mentioned reinventing organizations, but we're not reinventing the wheel. We're integrating rather than segregating. So, my background as well, like I'm a software engineer. That's one of the roles that I play. I invite you to see through this lens. I'm not saying it's the only way to see. I just invite you, as you're completing this lesson, just really give yourself an opportunity to put this lens on fully. Just put it as if you're wearing glasses and you're seeing totally through this lens. Just imagine like the Earth is an organic supercomputer, right? That this way that information is being transmitted, it's a natural process. That before there were silicon computers, there were mycelial computers. So this helps to enter the realm of non-duality. There's no separation between you, the Earth, infinite creative power, humanity-centered design, permaculture. It's all happening. The Earth is an organic supercomputer. What's that nested in? Well, it's nested in the cosmos. The cosmos is a quantum computer in and of itself. The implications of this are profound. It means that anything is actually possible. The implications of quantum mechanics are that anything can possibly be materialized at any point, anywhere, anytime. Anything is possible. So imagine that the Earth is an organic supercomputer, and you can learn anything from the Earth. Just like you can, go online, go on Google, go on YouTube, you can learn any new skill. The Earth is an organic supercomputer. You can learn anything from the Earth. Our computers are not separate from the Earth. Our organizations are not separate from the Earth. You are not separate from the Earth. Where did your body come from? Now, putting this into action, design thinking is what led ultimately to humanity-centered design. So design thinking offers a process that starts with empathy. Whenever we're going and we're creating a new innovation, we're using humanity-centered innovation as a set of principles and ethics, earth care, people care, fair share. Well, what does that look like in action? It looks like empathy. It starts with empathy. We need to have an empathic connection. Whenever we're innovating for purpose. For what purpose? For humanity's best interest, for the good of all. What does that mean? Well, we need to have an empathic connection in whoever we're creating anything for. We need to have that empathic connection. We need to define specifically, like, what is it that we want to solve? Our gift of alignment. Empathize with someone, with something, with a situation. There's a problem that needs to be solved. There are people that are suffering. Let's empathize with those people and define, well, what are the solutions? Let's ideate. Let's continue to go and take our gift of alignment and ideate that into a product or service. Get even more specific. Go from pattern to detail. Pattern, you start to empathize. You see the bigger picture, you define. You're starting to define the pattern. You're getting into detail. You start to ideate. You refine the detail. You start to prototype. This course is a prototype in and of itself. Prototype. Slow. Let's go back. Use small and slow solutions. Prototype. Prototyping is absolutely key. It is one of the keys to humanity-centered innovation. Continuous improvement includes continuously prototyping. I consider my life to be a prototype. So the invitation is to really take this cycle into heart, how we can go from empathizing with people to defining, ideating, prototyping solutions, testing them, seeing what works. Nothing is wasted. We can always learn, and we just keep going. We stay connected with that empathy, and we continue to evolve and refine the solutions that we have to offer the world. Let's tie this all together. This has been an action-packed lesson, so thank you for being patient and observing and interacting. Now, to really take this information and allow it to become insight, each one teach one. Teaching is one of the most effective paths to deepen your learning. So I invite you to really enjoy this process of sharing what you're learning about humanity-centered innovation with at least one friend who's ready for it. This may be the most effective way that you can take the information in this and really embody this wisdom, right? To effectively gather insights so that it's not just a number of, oh, there's these 12 principles. I don't remember what all the 12 principles are by heart. I'm not there yet, and I don't expect you to be there either. What I do invite you to is go and start to share what you're learning about humanity-centered innovation with at least one friend who's ready for it. It's going to help you deepen your learning. I'll also share some other case studies so you can see practically what this looks like. What are some of the ways that at Giving Back Studio we're applying humanity-centered innovation. I'll share some case studies, specific ways, practices, tools, ways that you can go and take the information and make it practical. One of the ways is each one teach one. Go, share what you're learning, and then also check out the case studies. See how we've applied humanity-centered innovation from building software to building infrastructure in farms in Kenya. I know it's far out, but we're really paving a new way. As I said, we've formed this new way of organizing. We're pioneering integrative organizing. So as you go and carry out your life, I invite you to share what you're learning. Also, reach out and ask for support. Anything that you need, any challenges you're having integrating, things that are puzzling you, reach out to the community. But most important, share what you're learning. There's no waste here. Everything that you're learning can be shared. Capture, let's go back one more time. Catch and store energy. This is one of the ways to catch and store energy here. Each one teach one. You catch and store the energy. As you learn, as you share, you're catching and you're storing energy. You're catching and storing energy for all of humanity. Everyone wins. When you go out and you share what you're learning, everyone wins. Gain, gain. Everyone wins. So this is my conclusion for principles and practical applications of humanity-centered innovation. Thank you so much for participating. Go, teach what you're learning, reach out for support, enjoy the paradigm shift.